Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode. My name is Akele Kumalo. We are here to talk about the 10th episode. We're having a live talk show review. We'll be looking at the ninth episode we've been discussing for the past few weeks. Hope you'll enjoy the time with us. What do you have for us today, Joseph?
Yes, so as we've said, today we're just looking at all the episodes and we just going to do a recap of what we talked about.
Yes.
So we'll just right away just start with the very first one, which was the power of imagination
Yes.
and the process. And then secondly, we talked about vision and purpose. And then we also dealt with leadership in episode 3. Episode 4, we did conviction and courage. 5, we tackled decision making. 6,
Yes.
we did obstacle is the way.
Okay.
And then in episode 7, we dealt with living in the present moment. 8, we did what's right is what works.
What works?
And then to conclude, we did
The
the
ego
ego
is the
is
enemy.
the enemy. Yes. So Zakile, what could you tell us about the very first episode that we talked about?
Yes, the first episode where we talk about the power of imagination and the process, we talk about avoiding distraction, where we referred also to the process, where we looked at the issue of the story of a Chinese bamboo tree, how it takes 5 years underground and it grows as 90 feet as tall in 6 weeks. Where we also looked at the issue of the microwave generation. We also talked about to say a lot of people avoid the process. They want quick things. They want things that will just come to place as quick as possible, and they do not want to go through pain. So actually, this was about growth. It was also about the issue of what do you do when you're going through the process and your imagination taking care of your mind.
Thanks. That was just brought it out very well
Yes,
and very clearly.
yes. While episode 2, we are talking about the vision and the purpose. We also looked at the story of
The South African president Nelson Mandela.
Uh-huh.
So Mandela was arrested and kept in jail for 27 years.
Yes.
And during all this time, he remained true to his vision and to his purpose.
Yeah.
And we saw what leadership is as a God-given mandate to accomplish something greater for a larger group of people. And this vision goes with purpose. So purpose is what keeps your vision alive. So because Mandela had this purpose to liberate his nation,
Yes.
and to lead people to
Deliver the South African from apartheid government. Yes. So what keeps Mandela is vision and his purpose.
His vision and purpose.
While in episode 3, we looked also in the issue of leadership. Why do you have good and bad leaders, the qualities of good and a bad leader? We also looked at the issue to say what are the characters of a good and a bad leader, why people fear to be in leadership, and why people want to be in leaderships too. Whereby we looked at in terms of to say good leaders are people who are not self-centered, are people who are also think about the next person except themselves. As we talked about the issue of the story of Nelson Mandela. And also we looked at the qualities of a bad leader as someone who is always looking for opportunities and how to, for his self-gain. And we also tackle it in terms of the qualities of a good leader and a bad leader, and why people avoid to be in leadership is just because sometimes, man, you come to the point whereby you fear the issue of the unknown. Yes. When you talk of the issue of the known, what you look at about is just that what if things didn't went well, the pain that I might face, the disgrace that I might face. Those are the things that we discuss in terms of episode 3. Episode 4, it was conviction and courage. To say conviction is what inspired someone, or it's an effect of something, and what sustained you, to make sure that the decision that you've taken, it comes to pass. It might be the facts, it might be belief on something. How much facts do you have and how much faith do you have on something? It's what is conviction. But courage is what sustains you, to accomplish the goal, to accomplish what you want to see coming to pass, man. Also, what we talked about in episode 5 is the power of decision making.
Yeah, decision making. So here we discussed this book, Who Moved My Cheese.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
So, and here we discussed the 4 characters, whereby we had 2 humans, 2 little humans, and 2 mice. And then we saw that cheese could be anything that has impacts on your current life.
And it's like, man, you said the cheese is the one that has been moved from my refrigerator in the kitchen and it went into the bedroom.
No, you see, it's not that kind of cheese we're talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
cheese in this case could be like a job, it could be like a business, it could be a relationship. So what happens when that is moved away?
Like now, I can watch Chelsea, man. Yes.
So you can't.
In episode 5.
So you
What
find
were you
that
saying?
when you're faced with all these challenges, then how do you make the decision? For example, when something is no longer there.
Yeah.
So will you be quick to make your decision?
So
will you be, first of all, quick to detect change, and then once you detected change, will you be quick to spring into action?
Yeah.
So we found that the 2 characters in the book, some of them were
Sniff and Scary.
Sniff and Scary.
Yeah.
Reasons
Which is
were
the little mice.
Yeah, these were spot on.
Yeah, they were able to detect change
early.
Yeah.
And also spring into action.
Of which in the time of Corona we are saying, as much as the cheese, the things that you like are no longer there. The job that you thought this is your breadwinner is no longer there.
Yes.
What do you do in your working in your closet, in your confined space? You can still work on it and see of how you work and accommodate the change in the time.
Yeah, and you'll find also there is now social media. You can use it to promote your brand, your business.
Yes.
Yeah, so it also opens up opportunity during this time of Corona, whereby things are not normal anymore.
Yes, then episode 6, we talk about obstacles the way to say, we looked at the issue of the Zen story, the king who was tired of the behavior of his nation. So this is the Zen story. In one book, we talk about the obstacle is the way.
Obstacle is the way, by Ryan Holiday.
Yes. So what happened in this story, the king he blocked the main city that's leading to the main city to the country. So in this story, what normally happened, after blocking the main city, like in this case when you are in Kenya, we'll be saying maybe Mombasa Road. This is our assumption. When you block that road, then we want to see how people will react to that obstacle. Yes. What normally happens, a lot of people complained about what the king has done. Some decide to turn back, some even decide to sit down and relax and watch the situation, but after all, there was one pageant guy, which is the Lord guy we talk about.
Yes.
He find ways on how to remove the obstacle, how to go through the pain and the struggle until he was able to remove the obstacle. But what was interesting, it is just that what was under this obstacle, where you find that there was a gold coin. There was also the issue of a note saying the obstacle is the way.
Wow. Obstacle is the way.
Yeah, and I found it a bit interesting in this time.
So we left you the question. What are you going to do once you're faced with an obstacle in your path?
Will you complain about Corona? Will you complain about the current circumstance to say maybe the government is not doing enough? We're not having food, as we have talked about the previous episode, Who Moved My Cheese? Those are the things, man, we want to teach, especially during this time. While in episode 7, man, episode 7 is living in the present moment.
Yeah, it was about living in the present moment.
What can you say about that?
So we saw that to live in the present moment, you have to execute what is in your mind at this present moment.
Yeah, I think the philosopher was Steve Jobs.
Yes, Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
So when Steve Jobs, many people say he was a genius, and true to it, he was a genius. But then what is genius? If it's not putting into reality what you have in your mind.
Yeah.
And also, Steve Jobs is a man who used to think differently. So also you find that once you're faced with that kind of situation, as we've seen, you need to think differently.
Yeah. And I guess this guy is the founder of one of the companies?
Yes, Apple.
Oh, okay. So he execute what was in his mind. He avoid distraction during this time of what was happening during this time.
So you'll find that, but when these companies were formed, many of them were formed during very tough times, very tough periods. But then you find that their founders, they focused on what was lying in front of them. They really didn't focus on the events. Because you'd find that in this case, we could decide to focus on the event that is Corona, but then what will we achieve once Corona is no longer there?
And you said, man, mostly things like now, however, someone who's working on something now, you'll find that those are the companies that will be popping during after the situation is over. And these are the stories that we'll be talking about in the future generation, maybe 2050.
Yes, I remember you even made a very interesting example of, somebody in the village.
Your
let's say your grandmother, she's selling potatoes and tomatoes, yeah.
And you market that one to your social media, and it will be something that you'll be talking about.
You put it on an app, and there you go.
Wow. Because in Africa we are mostly blessed with rain. I guess it's raining even in this time in East Africa.
Yes.
Along the equator, actually. That's where the main system is mostly based. In this time. So we're even talking about that.
So we have all the resources.
Yeah, especially in agriculture, man. That's where we are mostly blessed especially in Africa. But in a recap in episode 8, where you talk about the right, what is right is what works.
It's what works.
Yes, we looked at to say it doesn't matter it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white, but
in as long as it catches
the mice. What can you say about that?
So what I can say about that is that what you have to do is where you are. First of all, is where your ego has led you.
Yes.
So you find that in this context, you'll find that you have to really invest in resources.
Yes.
That will bring about a difference. In the future. Yes. And sometimes it's so that you have to break the norm.
Yeah.
You have to break some rules for you to get what you want. Because also what you want to focus on is your opponent. What matters is you put him to the ground and defeat your opponent.
Yeah, right now the opponent is coronavirus. Yes. You know what is currently happening? We are mostly tired of washing our hands. We are also tired of making sure that those necessary precautions are put into place, and that but it's the right thing to do, actually.
Yeah, it's the right thing.
And it's working actually right now. Until the obstacle is no longer there, but as long as the obstacle is there, is what is right is what works.
Yes, so what is right is what works, and also you have to think big, because by thinking big, you constantly challenge, what has been happening. In the present situation.
Yes. Then that was episode 8. But episode 9, man, was quite a bit interesting, whereby we talk about the ego. Your ego is your enemy, and the best person you are about to fool is yourself. The easiest person.
You are the easiest person
to fool. Yeah. And these were our aspiration to say, humble is our aspiration, gracious, it's our ambition, while resilience is our failure. To say, man, the ego is what has led you. Where you are is where your ego has led you. And as we are sharing
So it's also a good question we can ask ourselves. Where am I? So where has my ego led me?
Yeah, and it was an interesting story. We talk about the Californian governor. This guy was running for being he was running to be
governor of California.
The governor of California.
His name was Upton Sinclair.
But what was interesting is just that he was running for Californian governor, but on the other side, before that, he published his first.
He wrote published a book.
His first book.
The governor of California,
and
how he solved poverty.
Oh, of course, of course, of course. Yes, that was the topic. Actually.
Yes.
Yes. So, in summary of that, we were looking.
So we also found that his ego led him to not focus on the campaign because he already felt that he was a winner. He'd already won the campaign. He'd already become a governor.
Yeah.
So he didn't really invest in the campaign.
Yeah.
So he lost interest in it.
Yeah.
But the upside is that he became a hit.
Bestseller of the time.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to his book.
And also during that time there was also another lady who was. We discussed another case of a lady who was supposed to publish a book.
Yes.
But then she spent 2 years on
social media marketing, but while not working.
While not working on the book. And you saw that there is something that ego does to us nowadays. For example, we have all these tools to express ourselves.
Yeah.
So what is it really that we express? Because the space nowadays encourages everyone to express their opinions.
Like Facebook, man. What normally it asks you is just to say what is on your mind.
Yeah, or what is on your mind.
And Twitter, the other things.
What's happening?
Yeah, and those things you'll find that those are the things that are putting you into to say you create a false story. You create something externally while you don't work on your internal, because there's a difference between confidence and ego. Ego
and
is
then
to
we found that
publicize something externally.
We realized ego is stolen, while confidence is earned.
And yes, because confidence, man, it has to come within. You work on in a process. Sometimes you have to go through pain, sometimes you have to go through struggling, but after all it protrudes, of which this is our must goal with the vision drivers, to say people should be able to adapt, to go through the process, and go through self-introspection. Humble yourself, because our humble is our aspiration, gracious is our
our ambition.
Yes. Then resilience to failure. Be resilient to failure. Work on something now and again until it comes to pass. What do you have for us as we sum up today's show?
So as we sum up, mine is just to. I have a question for you today. What is your best episode so far? Or what's one topic of all the 9 that we've discussed really resonated with you?
Yes.
And that you felt, this one really, touched you.
Yes.
So mine is just to encourage you to consider all these things that we've talked about.
Yes.
The power of imagination and the process. Trust the process. And also vision and purpose.
Yes.
Keep those alive.
Yes.
Especially your vision. That one has to be there because it's the light that shines your way. And also now leadership. Don't fear to be in leadership.
Yes.
Because don't be self-centered.
Yes. Oh, my plea on the other side, as we sum up, it would be saying, guys, please make sure that you like our page, you subscribe on YouTube, so that we can give you more. As we are about to move to a new episode, we'll start from the scratch. We'll be unpacking something we've never seen before. This is the time to come with us and enjoy the moment. Otherwise, on my side,
stay tuned for our season 2.
Yes.
So we just concluded the season 1.
Yes.
Yeah. So season 2 will be coming.
And thank you so much for being with us, and also for hosting the show in such a channel.
We couldn't have done it. But the teamwork really has brought us. And also your support. Yes. Because if you look at our first episode, you will see that also we really started.
Anyways, it's time, man. Thank you so much for also having. I guess everyone will be having a good time as we start another new week.
Yes.
On my side, that's I think that's all we can have for today.
Yes. So I have a blessed week.